when you're looking to start a fire, there's two main ways that you can do that, or two basic ways you can do that. One is using natural methods, right, as your tinder, and the other one is going to be using man-made products as your tinder, right? So what we've done is we've grabbed Mitch here from Agonic. He also helps us teach our urban survival course, and we're going to be doing some other courses later on. So Mitch is a former Air Force SEER instructor. I'll go ahead and let you, Mitch, explain what that means and what you did, and then also just give us some brief examples of what a man-made versus a natural tinder could be.
Absolutely. So SEER stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. As a SEER specialist, we were required to be able to take anybody off the streets and teach them how not to die in any environment on the planet. Now, when we're looking at the different types of tinders like you were talking about, Drew, the natural and the man-made, they're exactly the way they sound. Yeah. Natural is literally anything that you're finding inside of the environment around you, and man-made is literally something that has been manufactured and purchased, and then you brought it with you. So it's literally just that simple when you're looking at the difference between the two.
So man-made could just be stuff I brought with me.
Yeah.
Probably I purchased, you know, because that's way easier, and Amazon Prime, right? So, and then the other one is just stuff we're going to find in the environment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the why we would need to do this, and then we're going to go ahead and break down the how and demo it.
So why would you need a fire? Well, there's three basic reasons. Either personal protection, sustenance, or communication. Now, when we're looking at personal protection, ever since the ancient Greeks believed that Prometheus stole fire from the gods, it has been a pillar of protection for civilization. It's been utilized in order to protect people from the environments around them, as well as from beasts or other animals inside of the area. It still is the same today. When we're looking at sustenance, fire is one of the primary ways of cooking food and purifying water across the world. Now, all that's doing is killing off the bacteria so that it doesn't affect your system and keeps you from getting sick. When we're getting into signaling or communication, ancient Native Americans also used fire and smoke signals to communicate over great distances, many, many miles even. It's still one of the primary reasons that we show and have taught people in order to direct rescue forces towards a location in order to get them home safe and sound. All fires have the same three principles. We call them the fire triangle. It consists of heat, fuel, and oxygen. With the proper balance between all those three, you can have a raging fire going in any environment in the world. Now, the reverse is also true. If you remove any one of those three principles from the fire triangle, your fire is going to wither out and die. When we're looking at a squaw wood fire, it's collecting your fuel source from the natural environment around you without having to split it at any point in time. Now, the first step of any fire, though, is going to be choosing the place or the location for your fire. Now, one of the biggest issues with that is accidentally creating a bigger fire than you intend. So, with all of this extra material that's down here, it can dry out and catch fire, and then it's a real bad day for everybody. Everybody's going to see it, but you don't want to be the guy that started the forest fire. So we need to make sure that we clear out all of the leaves and debris, anything that could act as extra kindling once it starts drying, so that it doesn't start a larger fire than we want. Now, the second step is going to be collecting those fuel sources. Now, with the squaw wood, like we said before, we have to collect it along the way. So we're going to go do that now. When we're looking to collect material for a squaw wood fire, we also need to maintain the principles of how to build the fire. Now, a fire is going to have three stages in getting it to being a self-sustaining fire. The first stage is going to be a tinder. The tinder is going to be what actually catches a spark or an ember and starts to actually cause a flame. On top of that tinder, you're going to add kindling. Kindling is going to encourage those flames in order to build a coal base. And then after your tinder, you're going to have a fuel source. This is what you're going to be utilizing in order to just putting the fuel on top of that ember bed, and it can still continue or keep feeding that fire. Now, as we're moving around, it's important in order to pick up materials along the way as you see it. You're not always going to have that material at the location that you want, so it's important to pay attention to your surroundings and collect as you go. When we're looking at our kindling, we need to make sure that we also break the kindling down into three stages. The first stage is going to be anything about pencil lead or smaller. The second stage is going to be the size of a number 2 pencil or smaller, and then the third stage is going to be the size of your thumb or smaller. So when we look at the material, we might run across some branches that meet the requirements, right? It's about the size of pencil lead from a number 2 pencil, but there's a problem. This material is still wet. It's still green. This tree is still alive, and we can see that inside of the cambium layer of the branches as they're still green when we pulled it apart. Will it light? Eventually, but it's not going to be as efficient for us, and it's going to take a lot longer for it to dry out in order to light that. So ideally, we want to find things that are already dead. Now, as we go through the process of it, we need to make sure that we are collecting enough material in order to make sure that it will sustain those embers and that spark in order to continue feeding that fire and grow. Some other things that are going to be helpful is having some background knowledge of the trees and types. So we have 2 different types of trees, coniferous and deciduous. Deciduous trees are leaf-bearing trees that shed their leaves during the winter and then sprout again during the spring. Coniferous trees are the ones that are cone-bearing trees. So I already know, like this tree right here being a cedar, just from personal knowledge and education, is going to be a coniferous tree. That means that most of the branches down at the base are going to be dead right off the bat and mostly dry. As we can see, we already have some of the pencil-sized material here, and we can store that inside of our layers as we move on to the next location in order to make sure that it dries out. Now, another thing that we can do in order to help dry off that material along the way is to put it inside of our layers so that our body heat actually gets rid of any moisture that might have been raining on it over time. One of the other nice things about some of the plant knowledge is being able to utilize the material in order to also find your tinder. So one of the nice things about a cedar tree is you can actually take the bark and peel it off. And then with that material, you can crunch it up, roll it around in your hands, and it becomes very hair-like and fibrous. It is a basic concept of most tinders that having hairs and fibers in it are going to allow it to catch a spark or an ember very easily and then also start bursting into a flame. There's a lot of trees that have natural principles to their barks that allow this to happen. Cedar happens to be one of them. Another one is birch. There's a whole bunch of them, and it's all different depending on what region you find yourself in. Now, there's some moisture still inside of this, and you can see the moss that's kind of attached to it as well. We want to try to get rid of the moss as much as possible while still keeping all the fibers of the cedar bark as we're going through. Another thing that we can do in order to help dry this out faster before we want to actually light it is to dry it off in our layers just like we did with our kindling prep as well. Now, before we just go ahead and light a fire, it's important to prep the fire site area. What we did is we went ahead and built a platform and a brace for our fire to be built on. Now, your platform can be anything from wet wood to green wood. Ideally, green wood. You can also use dry wood. The entire purpose of it is in order to collect and catch those embers and prevent it from going straight down onto the dirt or the soil where it's wet and it's going to die out. So we need to make sure that it's elevated off the ground. Next is going to be the brace. The brace is important because it allows us to aid in controlling that fire triangle. If we see that the fire is having a hard time breathing, we can lift that brace in order to allow more oxygen to feed from the bottom, encouraging those flames to continue up and feed onto the other sources of tinder and kindling, growing that fire faster. So once we get that all set up, now we're looking into actually lighting the fire. And we have 2 options. We have our natural and our man-made tinders. Now for our natural tinders, we've been procuring that cedar bark and keeping it inside of our layers to dry out. It's very hair-like and fibrous, and we want to put that right onto the platform next to the brace. This is where it's going to catch the best chance of that fire going. Once we have it there, we have to be able to add that heat now. Remember, it's that next part of the fire triangle, heat, fuel, and oxygen. So now we do heat. Today we're going to use a ferrocerium rod. This is using magnesium and a whole bunch of other chemicals that are inside of a metal rod in order to create a very hot spark. There's a lot of other ways of doing it. This is just happens to be one that I keep on my person all the time. Now, all you have to do is add a little spark, and it's going to start creating a hot spot on the tinder itself in order to start lighting all those hair fibers and starting that flame.
All right, so that's getting a natural tinder lit. And as you can see, there's a lot of white smoke. That's all the moisture that's coming off of it. We already saw flames coming up through it. That's when we would want to be putting on all of our different stages of tinder in order to get the fire going. I wanted you guys to see that before we show you a better way of doing it with just a little bit of preparing and planning ahead. Something that works a little bit faster and a little bit more of a guarantee as opposed to using a natural tinder like this cedar bark here. So one of the other options that you have available to you is using man-made. So with that man-made, I usually keep a little tin with me full of cotton balls and Vaseline. They last pretty much forever. It's just petroleum jelly soaked cotton balls. And what it's going to allow us to do is add just one stroke and a spark, and that hair-like fibers of the cotton ball mixed with a petroleum-based jelly is going to light up really fast, and if you built them correctly, it'll burn for about 2 minutes on its own. A lot easier, a lot faster, and bigger flames. Now, as we're building the fire, we need to go in the same order that we were talking about before. First, the pencil lead. Take all of it, put it on top of that fire, making sure that you're utilizing that brace in order to allow the fire to kind of crawl up and allow airflow underneath. If you need more air coming through, just lift up the brace a little bit, allow those fires to get through. Once you see it licking through the first layer, then you go on to the next. Using that pencil, crossing it over at 90 degrees, allowing all that air to flow all the way through from the bottom to the top. Again, you want to allow some space in between so that the fire has place to grow as we're going up. Once you have another layer of your pencil going through, cross it again. Put another set on top, again allowing space for the fire to grow. You need more oxygen because it's a lot more smoke. Let it breathe with that brace, and it starts peeking on through again. Once the flames are starting to consume onto the pencil, then we move on to our thumb size. Again, just kind of laying it on top. With these kind of fires, it's important to get your wood on fast and early on in the stages. What that allows it to do is utilize the heat from the previous stage of your kindling in order to fully dry out your next stage before you move on. So it's good to get some of that white smoke, which is all the moisture that is still inside of those dead dry sticks, in order to burn efficiently for fuel sources for that fire. Again, heat, fuel, oxygen. 3 legs of that triangle. We add one, increase the others, and it all grows together.
Sum up, guys, fire is important. It's utilized from everything from personal protection to sustenance and communication. We also talked about the fire triangle and maintaining that balance between heat, fuel, and oxygen. Then we showed the different stages of building a fire, from the tinder to the kindling and then the fuel source. If you guys enjoyed this video, stay tuned. We're going to have more survival-based videos coming your way.